let's talk about the journey within. What was your intention when you created that, and how did that unfold?
I did the first of these kinds of trainings outside of Japan, anywhere in Asia. I led the first one in 1991 in Hong Kong. After leading the trainings there for several years, I had a number of graduates who would come to me and say, look, we did the trainings and they're great. I'm making more money. I have better relationships with people in my life and I'm more successful. But there's a level of personal transformation that I haven't achieved yet. I still am hard on myself. I still have a lot of self-critical talk. I don't accept myself fully. I often feel there's a conflict within. I struggle, and I want to experience peace, not being bored, but real contentment and fulfillment within. And I really would want to find a way to accept myself as I am instead of constantly finding fault and thinking I could do better. In fact, people said, now that I did the trainings, I'm harder on myself than I was before I did the trainings, because now I have really high standards for myself. And so I developed a 6-month-long program that gives people an opportunity to surrender to who they are, to accept themselves just as they are, and to live fully in the present moment instead of constantly thinking about what I might do in the future or what I did in the past. And I came up with readings for every day for 6 months, 180 readings. And I designed small group meetings for people once a week and 3 weekend trainings that I lead, Friday night, Saturday, Sunday, that have people have a deep experience of accepting themselves as they are and of accepting life as it is, surrendering to what is rather than constantly operating from what you resist persists. If I really want true change, it doesn't mean struggling and fighting against and resisting what I am or how I am. It comes from accepting who I am. None of this is a new idea. In fact, it's very much part of the Eastern and the Chinese way, the Zen way, the Japanese way of looking at life, which is going with the flow, surrendering to the flow of life rather than fighting against the flow of life. And, the whole fundamental premise of Taoism and then later of Zen Buddhism is exactly what we're talking about. Instead of resisting life and trying to change life, flow with the flow of life. So I don't pretend to have invented this idea. I just found ways to make it accessible to graduates of Discovery Breakthrough Leadership. So I experimented with it, and now it's been done by thousands of people in Asia, and I've led it for ChoiceCenter. I've been surprised myself what profound discoveries and breakthroughs people have. But a lot of it comes from the work that people do in Discovery Breakthrough and Leadership. It's not like people come in to this cold or off the street. It's always been done as a graduate level of the 3 levels program.
What had you land on 6 months?
I always tell this story about my friend Joe Rosenberg, who is a famous alto sax player, jazz musician who played in Paris and San Francisco and all the great jazz clubs around the world. I went to his house. He was living in Jakarta, and he had a little house out in the back of his main house. And every day he would go out there and practice for 4 hours every day. I stayed with him for a couple of weeks. And I said, good God, man. You've been playing alto sax for 25 years. Do you have to practice every day? He says, man, if I don't practice every day, I start to lose it. I start to slip. So I said to myself, that's what is needed in the work that I'm doing, transformational work. So then I said, okay, daily practice. And 3 months was already the length of the leadership program. A year seemed too long. So I just kind of said, well, maybe about 6 months would be the amount of time that people could really integrate this into their lives and assimilate it and have it not be just something they do briefly for a few days and then they go back to their regular lives. And after a while, it kind of slips away, which is what happens with some people. So it just seemed like enough time for people to really go deep, but not so that it would be more than people would want to get themselves in for.